Ken, why is it that beginners seem to stay away from those afternoon thermals? I thought that, of course, that was always the best. It seemed to give more lift.
Well, it's a whole lot easier to learn when the air is not in motion like this. Learning the mechanics is much simpler if the air is still. It would be kind of like learning to drive an automobile when there's a hurricane. It's much easier to learn when there's no other elements that have to be dealt with.
And then for you advanced ones, well, then you want to really go with.
That's right. We look forward to conditions like this.
Lots of wind.
Uh-huh.
And do you learn anything in hang gliding from the birds?
Oh, yes. We frequently fly with the birds. We also use birds to show us where the best lift is.
Well, hey, I had an experience yesterday. I was flying around, and I was getting real low, when all of a sudden, out of the right came this hawk. And I saw it, as it approached me, it began to circle. So I knew it was in a thermal. So I followed it over, and I began to circle with it. And we circled together and got really high together.
This is about a mile high here, Ken. Just how do you go about teaching a novice to make a leap from here? I wouldn't think they'd go solo right off from this elevation.
Now, this is quite a highly skilled or a highly advanced flying site. In these conditions, a person would not want to fly as a novice, although we do bring people up here when the conditions are very mild, and after they've spent a great deal of training at lower hills, graduating progressively up to higher and higher hills. This pilot here is an advanced pilot and has flown many hundreds of hours here.
Here he goes now, it looks like.
Yeah. So the wireman is steadying him to allow him to get the balance of the glider and get both wings filled. In just a moment, the wireman will allow the pilot to take over the glider entirely. The left wing is lifting a little bit. It's having a difficult time getting it balanced. Weatherman is, there he goes, lifting.
Oh, great. Look at that.
Yeah, very fine ridge lift today. He can stay up here for as long as he wants.
Beautiful. Now, Ken, some of the folks have been killed up here, hang gliding. Tell me, what are some of the real dangers of this activity? I notice you have a chute there. Is that right, parachute?
Yeah, that's right, the safety parachute. And, of course, any machine, the safety of any machine is dependent on the operator. It's interesting to note that after 70 years of driving automobiles and all the refinements that have occurred in that time, that there's still 50,000 people that are killed in cars every year on the highways. I don't think hang gliding can expect any better than that. The errors that cause accidents in hang gliding are pilot error, improper assembly, mid-air collisions, which is not a real common thing, but would be one of the times when you might use a parachute. If there's a collision or the aircraft fails, the pilot can deploy the parachute, and that parachute lowers both the pilot and the glider down. The pilot does not leave the glider. It's rare that you'll ever see a parachute deployment, but just like a safety belt in your car, the parachute provides you a second chance.
Then I noticed that you're wearing a furry covered helmet there. What's the story on that?
Oh, it's something that my mother did for me about 5 years ago. It's a bit ragged now, but it's somewhat of my trademark. Gives me names like Nanook of the North and Wolfman.
Doesn't it give you a lot of wind resistance?
Yeah, just a bit.
How would you like to fly without any danger whatsoever? With no man-made device either?
I think it'd be wonderful. It's something that I've done ever since I was little in my dreams. It would be incredible.
Great. Well, what's your reaction to the biblical fact that this is the sort of thing God has prepared for those who love Him?
I felt like that for a long time. I think that flying is a very natural thing to do, and that in years to come it will become even more natural. I think that's where we're going to go.
God has great plans for you, young man. John, how about you on that question?
I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Well, he's got great plans for you. But Ken, since many of us will never, ever get up there hang gliding in the air, can you tell us what it's really like up there?
Well, you can fly along with us by way of these cameras that we've mounted on both sides of the glider. And Don has one mounted on his helmet to give you exactly the view that the pilot has.
fascination, free flight. To soar like the birds, catching the wind or rising with the thermals like an eagle. Yet, for all his skills and technology, there's danger. A sudden downdraft, a miscalculation, and there can be injury or death. Never in this life will man be free of that. For in spite of all of his achievements, the sky remains an alien environment. The law of gravity, like all of God's laws, does not alter to suit the whims of man. Most think of heaven as some mystical place far from reality, but the Bible speaks of it as real as this life is now. It's of a time when danger and death will not exist. Ah, the sensation of sweeping through the silent sky may be one of the best known, but it's only a faint foretaste of what God has in store for those who love Him. Why, it's beyond our imagination. Whatever we can think or do here doesn't begin to touch the delights of the earth made new. Human language is totally inadequate to describe the reward of the righteous. Why, all the treasures of the universe will be open to the study of God's redeemed. And talk about flight, unfettered by mortality. Why, we'll wing our tireless flight to worlds afar, worlds that thrilled with the sorrow at the spectacle of human woe and rang with songs of gladness at the tidings of a ransomed soul. Ah, but far greater than all the pleasures and harmonious social life heaven can supply will be the simple and awesome reality that the redeemed shall see God face to face. Well, I just can't wait for heaven.